Okay, so today's tomato review is going to be on the yellow pear tomato. So let's take a closer look at this tomato. And I don't have a whole lot of them to review right now because they're all green still for some reason. They didn't really ripen up. Though I do have some that are ripening, this is one of them. And this is the typical shape, teardrop shape, or some people call it a light bulb. In fact, I just did some photo shots of mines. Figured that'd be an interesting way to express myself with mines, would be appropriate for my channel. But that's generally what it is. Now, this tomato, I've been growing this tomato for the last 8 years while I lived here. And this tomato is a profuse growing tomato. It literally comes up. I do not plant these tomatoes in my property every year. These come up randomly around my property every year. And they have been since the first time I planted it, all the way back in like 2010 or 11 or something like that. And pretty much been coming up since then. So, as you can see, it's a wonderful looking tomato. Now, I made sauces with these tomatoes already, and by themselves, they're a creamy type of sauce. They're really not appetizing at all. I would recommend you mix these tomatoes among some other tomatoes that are more juicy and moist and watery, and it'll thicken up the sauce, and you won't really get that creamy effect. And these tend to have a very creamy effect. So they don't make a good sauce by themselves, but they do make really good sauce mixed with other tomatoes. And they also thicken up the sauce as well. So let's cut it open. I'll cut them open both ways. That's the top part, as you can see. That's what it looks like. It's bi-chambered. Okay, there's the lower half. All right, and you can see a little bit of that greening on there in the seeds that I told you about. Normally you don't see that in lighter color tomatoes, but you will see it once in a while. So this tomato does have a little bit of that greening in there. And this one does have the greening, and it's quite a delicious tomato, guys. Like I say, I planted this tomato years back when I first moved here, around 2009, first year I grew it. And it's been growing on its own. Every year it comes up randomly in the yard. Some birds get to them, and next thing you know, they spread them, and they pop up every year. And so I always get these tomatoes, and it's one less thing for me to worry about planting year in and year out. But it's a good tomato. I do like to snack on these tomatoes. We're going to taste test this right now, kind of show you what it looks like when you cut it that way. Alright, so that's what they look like longwise. That's the whole chamber. And we'll taste test it right now. Well, it's a wonderful tomato. It tastes really good. It's got a nice balance between the tardiness and the sweetness. Pretty well balanced. Has a stronger tomato flavor. In other words, you're going to taste that tomato-y taste on it a little bit more than, say, other tomatoes. So it does have a stronger tomato taste. Some people don't like that, believe it or not. But it does have that characteristic, but the sweetness, tartness, and between the sweetness and the tartness is very nice, very pleasant. No overtones or undertones. It's pretty watery, so it's got a nice juicy effect to it, and it's a very prolific tomato. This plant will produce literally several hundred tomatoes per plant. The vine can grow as long as 20 feet. I've had them grow with multiple tendrils that come out. It can produce literally several hundred tomatoes per plant. I've had plants that were almost in the thousands of tomatoes. Just that many, so many tomatoes on it, there's no possible way I could even eat all of them. Half of them were falling to the ground. And that's with me picking off them every day. And now I grow other tomatoes, so I can't just like fill my belly with these things, but we're talking a lot of tomatoes come out of these. So once you establish this tomato on your property, they will start to come up on their own. You may have to encourage it for the first year or two. If you pick it clean, you cut the plant down, you got to give the plant a chance to get its roots in there. and get established to your environment. And once it does that and the seeds start to come up on their own, you're set. It'll just keep doing that year in and year out. This is a great survival food. So if you're out in a survival situation and you weren't able to go home or live in your house, you have to stay in the woods for a while, and you needed something to be able to cultivate while you're out and about, this would be one of those seeds I would highly recommend for you to take out into the wilderness and grow out there, because it will self-seed itself. It will continually grow. It's not a very high maintenance plant. This thing can handle, this plant will outpace the blight. No matter how bad the blight is coming in, it'll outpace it all the way. It'll grow all the way into the deep fall until the first frost. Now, first frost will burn it back mostly, but it'll keep growing. And then the second and third frost will kill it off. But this plant is a heavy producer, gives you tomatoes very early in the season. Really not much I could really say bad about it in any way. The skins were a little tough. Again, it's not a great sauce tomato. But as far as a foraging food, this is like the tomato you would want to forage. So, I'll eat one more. Give you one more last look at it, and then I'll rate the tomato. It's a little creamy. I forgot to mention that. Like when you eat it, it's not like a watery tomato and disappears. That pulp part is a little bit creamy. So it will kind of give you that creamy effect. But the taste is good. Everything else is good. It does have a nice watery flavor. Has a nice tang. It's not a citrusy type of tang where it's sour and your mouth kind of puckers. It's not that kind of tang, but yet it is like a tomato tangy where it just works well. A little bit of salt on that and you're golden. As far as rating the tomato, I'm going to put this one up there. I'm going to put it up there on the number 2. Not so much for flavor though. The flavor is okay. The flavor is good and all that stuff, but I'm putting it up there on number 2 because of the versatility of this tomato. It can self-seed itself and grow every year on its own. It produces tons of tomatoes. And you can just eat these tomatoes and you can't go wrong. You never almost have a problem with them. Because of that extreme versatility and its extreme ability to adapt into many different environments, I really have to give this tomato a higher rating based on that alone. As far as the taste goes, I would say taste-wise, the rating would definitely be a little lower. It'd probably be like a 3. But for versatility and the overall function of the tomato and taste is pretty good, I'm going to give it a 2, guys. This tomato has never failed me. It produces every year. When all my other tomatoes seem to fail and give me problems, I'm still eating these things, even when I didn't plant them. I still have tomatoes to eat from that. I can't say anything bad about it. I mean, I've had years that were so bad from the diseases that we get up here, in this part of the Appalachian Mountains. The diseases are so bad, there's like 20 different diseases will hit your tomato plants and wipe them right out. This plant is still growing, still producing tomatoes. I can't give it a bad rating, guys. It's maybe not the best sauce tomato in the world, but it's a great snacker, and it goes really good in salads. Highly recommend buying this and establishing this tomato on your property. All right, so that's about it for the yellow pear tomato. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.